Takže doslova, ta hra vás v takovýhle moment prostě zabije a pustí vás semka. Kámo, to není možné, aby to byl true ending. Už je tady ještě jednou veliké hyper kikíka za ty soby. Děkuju, bratři, děkuju.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Koute, vážně tohle je true ending? Ne, to určitě není. Já si vybavuju nějaký ending, kdy ty jakoby konfrontuješ toho frajera, který je v té facility a dojdeš jakoby na vrch těch kanceláří. To si vybavuju jako hrozně matně, tyjo, ale... Počítače, nevypadá to, že asi ono. Vyskoč z toho okna, no to se jako taky vybavuji, že se dá vyskočit ven z toho okna, ty vole, ale... Ze kterého okna, ty vole? Jo, já už vím, já už vím, chat. Já už vím. Moment. Už vím. Ticho.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Teďko. Rovně. Bez kýblu. Moment. Už vím. To tady nebylo? There will be a reward for finding them all. Takže ok, tady vážně ty figurky někde jsou. Zavřeno.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Teďka se dostat nahoru. A půjdeme jakoby do úplně normálního klasického endingu. Executive bathroom. To tady nebylo. Je trestné být...
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Už začíná být tak XQC, není mi rozumět prostě, jako jo. Tak, figurka. Tak a teďko.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings. Desperate, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Tak já se převlíknu, já se musím vzít, kámo, tyhle tepláky. A ukážu vám, kam jsem chtěl jít. Protože to je vážně jediná místnost, která mi napadá, kterou jsme skipli. O který vím. Tak. Jdeme. A teďko já projdu rovně. Tady je...
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
To mě fakt zajímá, kde je ten zbytek. Máme 4 už. Máme už 4. Tak teďko výtahem dolů. A směrem rovně je jakoby good ending, ale my půjdeme doleva. A v tom je právě ten největší.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Tak, a teďko jdeme doleva. Yes. Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Violent death.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Počkej, jak mě to tady vážně na konci zabije? Really? No okej, tak to vlastně musíme zkusit, že jo? Já jsem to věděl. Já jsem to věděl. A tohle je ten true end.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Já jsem to věděl. Tohle je ten true ending do píči. Tohle je ono. Taky jsem měl problém tohleto předtím najít. Yes, tohle je ono. The Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Jo, tohle je to muzeum. Že to je ono.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
No vy takové tady kýblí v tom muzeu, tak se nebude tady projít, no. Toto jsou jakoby prostě asety, které byly použitý ve hře. Já jsem se s tím přesně spletl tu chatu, která byla v té Deluxe verzi, ano. Tady je layout, že jo, těch ofisů a všechno ostatní. Koridor, kabinety. Ofisy. Button sounds. Neuvěřitelný. Office computer, ten solitaire jak je dobrý. Databáze. Tady jsou vývojáři a teďka to tady já půjdu nejdřív doleva. The office. Tady je ten výtah. Kopírka. Jo. Věci. Warzone. Brzo ve vývoji jsme udělali ending, kde by Stanley skončil na bojišti a bojoval s vetřelcema. Ok, dobře. Dobře. Tak to koukám asi... Alien Base. Neuvěřitelný. Tak a tady je pokračování. Narátor emails. Krávo. Jo, to je ten timer. Zkus pak ještě ten ending s těma počítačema. No já jsem kámo hlavně úplně ztracený. Já jsem si fakt jako na 10 000% jistý, že nám chybí ten true ending. Já prostě vím, že je tady jeden ending, který opravdu funguje tak, že ty de facto dojdeš k někomu, kdo to ovládá celý a tam se to uzavře. Já prostě nevím jak. Teďko z hlavy. Jako on je prostě dost možný, že tohle je právě on teďko, jo, ale... To jdeme teďko zjistit. Jo, tady jsou ty moje koje. Koje, ty vole. Jak tomu říkat, jako nějak rozumně kanceláře. No a teďko projdeme. A tady je on-off switch pro hru.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Yes.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose.
Já si to vůbec nepamatuju, tohleto. Já si to vůbec nepamatuju. Don't let him choose it. Okay. A begin.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Nah.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee
Kámo, to není možný do píči.
number 4.
To není možný. Co myslujeme? Co myslujeme? Celý chat prostě. To není možný. Pointa byla to už nehrát. A to není ten správný ending. Není prostě. Já si ještě jako nemůžu vybavit místnost, kterou bychom mysnuli ještě. To prostě není možný, sakra. Co je spoiler, no asi mě spíš Maníku můžeš navíst.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Počujeme.
A ten tvůj výraz, když chceš pochopit, o co tam jde. Ale těším se, co z toho vytáhne tvůj střihač a půjde to na YouTube.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Počkat, to je 425, která se zavře později. Jo, máte člověče asi pravdu.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Tady.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ne, to není ono. To není ono. Ty krásy, já se to snažím vymyslet, ale jak jsem to fakt jako nehrál třeba 8 let, tak teďko má nevím. Za odpočívárnou doleva je další výtah. No to my víme, ale sakra. Do okna se dívej, to jsme taky zkoušeli. Do 425 okna po spavnu? Do toho okna teda, jo. Ty krásu, tak to se dá vůbec nepamatuju normálně. Počkat. Tohle je...
All of his co-workers
tohle je ono! Tohle je ono!
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Tohle je ono.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tohle to je ono. Takže tohle to je kancelář, která se vám spavne. Potom se to resetujete několikrát, že jo? Je to ono. Tohle je ono. Yes. No konečně. A teďko... Welcome to the whiteboard ending. A... tohle je ending? What the fuck? Takže to je ještě jiný ending tohle?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Já se zblázním. Co je zatraceně jinýho? Kromě toho, že je to vlastně o místnost míň. Přemýšlej. Tohle to bylo i v originále, ano. Akorát to si taky nemůžu vzpomenout, jak to tady do prdele vycházelo. Ty vole. Když půjdu totiž teďko dál a půjdu doleva. Já mám tady pocit, že takový někam jiným jako dál nepůjdu, ty vole. Rovně. Co je divný? Aha. To je pravda? Co je s tím číslem, sakra?
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
What the fuck, krása.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Co bychom mohli do prdele ještě udělat? Co je jinýho, než jsme udělali do teďka? Escape ending. Ty vole, přemýšlej. Zkoušel tu platformu z výtahu s kýblem. Jakože s kýblem to je jiný, jo. Mi to tak chceš říct. Počkat. To se nedá vylíst nahoru, ne?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Okay, jsme tu.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Počkejte, ale tohle je úplně jedno, ne, zatraceně. Vymyslíte,
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Já jsem kámo úplně mysnul. Toto ten výtah. Tohle je ono, že jo? No jasně.
Oh, good Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
What the
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
Aha.
Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Takže. Teďko, vezmu kýbl. Podívám se po figurkách. A jdu dál teďko.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Let's go!
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Jakože já mu teďko mám vrátit můj kýbl. Takže tohleto je jakoby doslova a content na výsledek si tím nebyl. Můžu jít tudy? Holy shit. Kámo, tak teď třeba vůbec nevím, kde jsem.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Já nechci zničit svůj kýbl. Je to můj
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it.
Tuší někdo, co z tohoto je ta správná možnost? Kdo to jakoby už hrál, tu Deluxe edici? Nevím z ničeho. Save the bucket, nejsou žádný správný, jo? Dobře, takže zkusíme zachránit.
We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and... The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Ano. What the fuck? Kámo, to není možný, ale prostě. To není možný. Kolik ještě tam může být možností do pytle? Já ještě teda pojedu dolů bez kyblíku.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Teďko teda mě zajímá...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
The end is never the end.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Aha. Tohle jsem ještě neprošel, to je pravda.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Dobře.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
My počkáme, jako není problém.
Let's see, we went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Okay. No a teď jsem konečně správně. A tohle je ta veliká místnost.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Aha. Tak vločila si to zbývá ještě okno a whiteboard ending. Okno a whiteboard ending. Dobře. Jo, počkej, takže...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Jasně. Balonky jsou pryč, no.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Počkat, to se děláš, prdel. Samniku, děkuji tě mnohokrát. Pravý, no ale který pravý, ty vole?
7.
Děkuju, Samniku. Má to někam výst? Počkej. Fuck.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Neuvěřitelný. Vítej zpátky, v našem beku jsme moc nebezpečný. No, Kdyby ty bylo jenom to, já ještě pořád zdravý nejsem, ale děkuji těm mnohokrát za to.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse.
Kde jsou
I might be
dveře?
remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Prostě dveře udělali people leave, vole. OK. Sávniku, děkuji ti, bratře. Děkuji ti.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
Počkat. Já jsem úplně rozbil tu hru.
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Stanley. Co se to kurva
Now
stalo?
this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Hraju hru od Ubisoftu, kurva. Dostal jsem stát čáru. Čára. Počkat. Tohle je ale jiná cesta než předtím.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Co to je za fern? Fern?
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Vlny kapraní, to je tohle, jo. Okay. No ale kámo, je to zajímavý. Tohle je teda další, úplně nějaký absurdní ending.
Wait, what? We're back at the office?
Je to možný?
No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
4, 2... Jasně, takže tudy teďko. Jasně.
Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Teď se jmenuje už akorát Stanley Parable 1.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
To se děláš, prdel. To bylo vážně v originále?
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Kámo, to je level design. Narátore, halo? Jakože děkuju, ty vole, ale... Co? What the f... Dobrý, nepřemýšlej nad tím, prosím tě, Klaude. Jak se to stalo tohle? Počkej, já jsem se prostě vrátil zpátky teďko, to já chápu, ale... Dash. Jo, takhle, takže jo, já už to chápu. Prostě nepřemýšlej nad tím prostorem a prostě jdi.
Oh no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story.
Wow.
No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Prostě jdi za rovnou čárou. Aha. A čára jsme se teďko najednou.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision.
Really?
From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
To si děláš, prdel. You have been playing the confusion ending for 20 minut skoro?
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Bráško, mám tu pár lidí v
And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you do...
What the fuck? Cože jsem to akorát já teďko? Ale...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The end is never, the end is never, the end is never.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Já vlastně něco stalo. Teď se něco stalo, nevím co. Co se teďko najednou stalo? Jsi na bodě Restart 5? Takže ona je to vážně. Pamatuje se někdo ten zbytek? Narátor Forgets, to tam bylo, to je pravda. No, ale ty nejdeš úplně jako od začátku, když teďko máš zničený ty kompy, že jo? Tohle je vážně Restart 5, jo? Aha. Takže jako já teďko mám normálně, prostě jakoby pokračovat ve hře, jo? S dvěma dveřma. Počkej, tady jsou otevřený dveře už teďko tak brzo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ne, to byly vždycky, ale... Já se z toho zblázním. Něco se stalo a ty kompy vypadají jinak teďko. Já bych na základě toho teďka podle mě měl jít doprava a doleva znova.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
No a teďko levá.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
A teďko to dá znova dolů. Zkusíme to fakt, že se to udělá.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
To už to jak jednou bylo toto, že?
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Jasně.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for...
Ale jsme už kámo procházeli.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tak já mám ty kompy vypadá jako zase úplně jinak najednou. Ano, ready, děkuju. Já se udělám ještě jednu ve chvíli. 6. restart, find the line again. Najdi repliku Officeu, který se začala měnit. Narrate restart ne... No já mám tady čeče pocit, tam nic takového není, ale... Ukázal se to, vypadá to tak, no. Dobře, tak pojďme teďko udělat to, co je jednoduchý, okno. Pamatuje si někdo okno? Koukám se sem jenom, jo, a to je všechno? 4, 2, 5. První místnost.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
No, ale já pořád takhle... Dobrý čete, asi teďko nechápeme jako češtinu. Tohle to je za mě okno. Ale tohle to není okno. Tohle to je prostě prosklený, jako... No jako, dobře, je to okno, ale není to jako klasický okno, chápeme se? Teď se bavíme teda o tomhle, jo. O tom oknu se bavíme. Je to ono, nebo ne? Není to ono. Vnitřní a venkovní okno, ano, přesně tak. První místnost vylez po židli. Jaká přemýšlím, se to dělalo, ty jo. Dobrý, takže znova, jo. Spawn.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a...
Čete, mi do prdele říkáte 2 endingy najednou. Já potřebuji 1. Tak ještě jednou.
Trace of his
4, 2, 5 není okno přece. Už se chápeme? To se kámo nedá vylíst, ale... Možná, že to je ta židla? Jo, to je tohleto. Já už vím. Ježiš, no jasně.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
No.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want. Like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable. and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
A ten ending je jiný z kýble? Já se fakt zblázím normálně. A to je všechno? Tak já máš na chvilku hrát. Tak, begin the game again.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps, if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
said the bucket.
Not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like... My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
Takže ten kýbl je zakletá nějaká příšera od nějakého kouzelníka? Jako tragický na tom je to, že on to asi docela dává smysl, jako no. Ale jakože what the fuck is this? A teďko Bucket Destroyer. Takže my teďko vážně máme jít zničit ten kýbl prostě.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
The end is never. A to je znova. End is never, end is never.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ten kýbl se nedá zničit, vždycky to bouchne? OK, dobře. Awaiting input. Já jsem s tím kýblem dal 8 endingů. No Patriku, už na tom je to, že já už jsem to hrál, ale prostě třeba před 8 rokama a já jsem úplně stracnej, ale jakože úplně normálně. Hele, já už vím, co jsem zapomněl. Mind Facility on ještě nemám, jako na normální ending bez kýble. Tak to ještě půjdeme teďko projít a od teďka už půjdeme akorát asi s kýblem.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yes, to je tudy. Patriku, našel jsi všechny figurky? Poskytnout figurky.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Jakože tady? Yes.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the figurines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no figurines. None of us can.
Tak já mám to, že tohle je 5. A já tu jít nechci. Tady mi prosím tě čeluji. Zpátky nahoru. Tudy. A teďko, tam taky byla 1. Kde je kurva ta poslední, ty?
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad, Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Děkuji. To bylo skvělý. Kdyby dopadla, tam mohla být ta figurka. No, uvidíme.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Takže ty mi vážně chceš říct, jakože i třeba tady ten escape je s kýblem jiný prostě. Jakože úplně jiný. No okej. Tak teďko, Mind Control Facility. Tak to si zapneme. Jdeme znova sem.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Druhých dveřích. Tam jsou druhý dveře?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
My jsme vlastně předtím jakoby vypli tu mind kontrolu a teďko uděláme to, že ji budeme zapnout.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ale to jsme taky ještě to nedělali, že jo? Tady je těch 5 tlačítek někde. Když teďko schválně zapnu všechny. 1, 2, Já jsem matně vybavil, že tohle by mělo něco dělat snad i. 1, 2, kde je 3? Tady? 3. Tak, kde pak je ta 4? Nic. 4. Čau, Samete, děkuji. 4 nemůžu najít.
Dobré odpoledne, posílám 4 eura, aby Mel Cloud ho platí po dané Omegalul.
Tak já mám ani vůbec vtipný s těma daněma, ty vole, ale děkuji ti mnohokrát, děkuji. Doslova jsem, kámo, ty vole, na tom aktuálně je nahoře? Takže ona je zavřená? Takže se k ní nedá dostat, jo, teďko. What the fuck? Je strašně zábavný, jak se to člověk nepamatuje ty hry. Už po takové době. OK. Tak mind control ending, jo? Dojdeme a zapneme.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
What the fuck?
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
No, det är sagt, no?
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Co dělám špatně? Já se to matně vybavu, že prostě zmáčkne 4 a potom to přerušíš.
Look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
What the fuck? Já začínám být normálně fakt ztracený úplně ze všeho, tyjo. Já si vůbec nepamatuju, že by to takhle končilo. OK, nevadí. Tak jo, jdeme dál,
Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Končilo to tak, OK, dobře. Počkat. To jsem já. What the fuck? Dá se tam dostat? 4-2. Tohle je ending? Čtyři, 2, 5. Ne. Takže tohle prostě akorát easter egg, aby to zamotalo hráče. Fajn. Takže, to jsme dneska ještě schopní objevit, abychom toho udělali co nejvíc. Chcete teda spustit takový mind control s kýblem, jo?
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Aha. Dveře před šéfovou kanceláří.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Okay. Zavřeno. Zase je info, kde jsou ty collectibly, dobře.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Takže teďko, boss is teďko office, nahoru. A... Toto jsme už procházeli. Tady byl jeden collectible. Aha. WTF, ty vole, panda s pistolí. Tady je funkční výtah? Já jsem se fakt lehce. Za výtah, ty vole. No teď se máme zpátky. A dolů? To je fakt. Takže ten výtah prostě nedělá nic, OK? Tak jdeme dál, ty vole. Horor, prostě to je moje nejoblíbenější hra. Takže jestli máš s tím jako nějaký problém, tak můžeš klidně vyrazit jinam.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk.
Yes,
nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Takže teďka mi to vlastně vypráví ten příběh jakoby jinak, ale zároveň stejně.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Tady byl panák, že jo? To už taky máme. Mě fakt kámo zajímá, kde to je. Nice, je panák, jo, to už taky dávno máme.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Přečtěte ještě jednou nakonec, od čeho je vlastně původně... Zasadačka je návod, podle toho to nejspíš najdeš? OK. Co to dělá ta barva?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
A tady jsou teda 3 endingy teďko různý, mi chcete říct, jo? Ty vole. To začíná docela šílený tohleto, jako no. Ok, takže začneme tím levým.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Let's go.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Takže te doufáte v nějaký konečný ending, který to vysvětlí všechno. Let's go. Tak, jsme tu. Jsme tu i s kýblem.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Rip. Tak, pauza.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
No. A nebo nás to aktuálně pošle semka zpátky.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Vážně? Doslova udělali akorát The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. Píčo, prostě fakt úplná absurdita, jo?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
25 kýblů. Fotografie 25 kýblů největšího počtu kýblů, který kdokoliv vyfotil. No, možná, že je víc, teda. A dobře. Bucket s 2 handlama. OK. Absurdum. Inferno bucket. OK. Analogie stresového kýble. OK, takže už v pravěku se používali kýble, jo, dobře. V pořádku.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. To mám vážně skočit dolů? Počkat.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Teďko najednou je to celý teda úplně obráceně. Ty píčo, the fuck.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Tohle je zase teďko rozbitej ten office. Holy shit. OK. Jdeme dál. Takže. Zkusíme teda ještě udělat ty 2 endingy takový úplně klasický. Where are we going
today? The bucket asked. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Není to, jak jsi viděl? Ne, to byl akorát easter egg. Takže tady, jo hele, mission status. Samber boot red and blue. Ok, dobrý, takže víme, kde je. Víme, kde je. Red and blue, tak já jsem šel špatně. Kurva drát.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Nevadí, mind kontrola.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Yes. Už na svůj kýbl v dílně nebudu nikdy dívat jako dřív? Chápu, no. Ty fakt to je teda hrozný bordel. Hrozný. Já vlastně pořád ještě chci najít něco, co to dokáže spojit. Jakoby neříkej tam...
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Tak, teďko, jsme tu.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Pokud to máš lano, tak kýble je cesta. Ano, kýble je cesta, ty vole. Když odpojíš telefon s kýblem...
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
Ale to je kde, ty vole?
The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Už se dělá monitor místo z diskoparty, nevím o tom.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Jasně, protože tohle je ten narátorův jakoby hlavní příběh, že on prostě chce, abychom skončili dobře. Takže ne.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
What the fuck? Ale jako... Kamo, nesnáším plameňáky, ty vole.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Kámo, a tohle je teda normálně ending, že prostě my se koukáme s kýblem na věky věků. Na ptáky. To je normálně jako reálně ending v této hře. Já se posedu. To je taková píčovina tohleto už normálně.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Počkat, tohleto jsem ještě neslyšel ten dialog. Jakože jsou si světlo, ale vlastně k ničemu nic není, to jo. Bude se koukat s citem na ptáky, no jasně, ty vole, něco pustíme, ale... Ale jdeme teďko pro...
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Tak, a teďko
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
Tak,
the cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Yes.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Já jako skipnu ten ending nahoře a jdeme jako podívat se k těm dveřím, jo. Tady by měla být figurka. Tady by někde měla být figurka.
No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a minute.
Uděláme normálně asi ty vole kýble emote tím tempem. Vážně.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket.
Vážně.
Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Oh.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
What the fuck? Vážně?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Nemůžu.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
1 ze 3.
Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket.
Děkuji.
To be honest,
I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Žalud smart, ano.
Is this a bucket?
Vážně?
Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
What the f...
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Ne!
Okay, here we go.
Váž.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
No. Takže teďko tam půjdu bez kýble.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Tak, rovně? Jasně.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Takže figurky nemají vůbec nic společného s hru jako takovou prostě, jo. Toto je prostě kompletně hotový a je to done. A není potřeba v tom jakoby nějak dál pokračovat. Uvidíš sám? No já bych se takovou jakoby resetnul hru a šel znova. Tak můžu jít jako resetnout? Můžu jít doma resetnout, ne tím pádem, že jo? Ne? Můžu, ok, dobře.